Okay, can everybody see the slides? Kelly, can you see my slides?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. Yay. Last time I forgot to share. All right. Um, so let me just give you a brief overview of the program at Alvernia, and I'm going to have to move people here out of the way so I can read my slide. So we are an emerging program. The Alvernia University PA program is a graduate program. It's a 24-month program. We have two pathways for admission into our PA program. We have the traditional post-baccalaureate graduate pathway where people come in after they've graduated from an accredited program. And we also have a bio PA accelerated track where freshmen are admitted into the university as biology majors and take a scripted curriculum for 3 years, and then they come into our program during the 4th year if they meet all of the assured admissions criteria for our program. We have applied for provisional accreditation from ARC-PA, our accrediting body. The application went in June, and we had our site visit in September. I'm happy to report the site visit went extremely well, but we still have to get official word from the accrediting body in March of 2024. They meet in March, and we expect to have a decision officially from ARC-PA in April of 2024. Therefore, our timeline is such that we would admit our first class in the fall of 2024 with a max cohort of 30 students. And that's a total of 30 students, so for both pathways coming in. We are very excited about the development of Post Center in College Town. We have facilities in downtown Reading, which are located at 401 Penn. There is a building that the university purchased and is renovating, and different programs will be there, including occupational therapy, biomedical engineering, nursing is there. So a lot of our graduate programs and healthcare programs are being relocated to those facilities. I think that probably the facilities are probably one of the things I'm most excited about for this program, because I was allowed to actually work with the architects and administration in designing some parts of what would be on the 2nd floor as well as the 3rd floor. The PA program will be on the 3rd floor, primarily. However, there is shared space with nursing on the 2nd floor. So some of the features of those facilities are a large lecture hall on our 3rd floor, where we will predominantly give our lectures to our students in there. We have a physical diagnosis lab, which is comprised of 22 physical diagnosis bays or beds. And when you have class in the physical diagnosis lab, you will be in a very large group of students and faculty. And the reason why we designed it that way was for uniformity of delivery of the curriculum. So in our experience, it is better and it's easier for students and the faculty if we're all in one group. We have the ability to actually record in that room and to display examples of the physical exams, etc., right on screens within the room. So very excited about that. We also have 3 clinical skills labs, which are dedicated to PA on the 3rd floor. Within those skills labs, you'll learn things such as IV insertion, airway management, etc. We have 5 small group classrooms, which are for small group facilitation. They all will have smart boards in there. We have 2 patient care simulation rooms on the 3rd floor specific for PA. One will be designed to be a critical care bed in an inpatient hospital room. The other will be an outpatient office space. We have virtual anatomy lab with 4 anatomage tables on the 2nd floor. That'll be a shared space with nursing and other programs. We have an OSCE assessment center where our students will frequently undergo assessments with standardized patients. And within that area, there is a pre-brief and a debrief room where we will be able to meet as faculty with the students to give them instruction, also to give them feedback. And then there is an observation room where we actually can observe what you're doing with the standardized patients and record that activity as well. We have a full medical simulation center or lab on the second floor that we'll share with nursing. And one of those rooms, it's 4 rooms, one of those rooms will be set up at times for PA as an OR suite. So we have a surgical scrub sink outside of that room, and we have the ability to turn it over into a simulated OR. We also have designated testing areas for students who need special accommodation. We have faculty and student lounges, which are really nice so far from what I've seen on the second floor, and they'll be similar on the third floor. And then there's study space, restrooms, and locker rooms. So really, I can't think of anything else really that we would need in that facility. Very excited about that. And the other thing I wanted to mention on this slide is that the American House is a building that was purchased. It's catty corner from our building that's being developed at Post Center. And that is where our community health center will be housed. We're going to work with Berks Community Health and provide healthcare directly to our residents in Reading, PA. So how this will have an impact on the PA program is that once it is up and running and fully staffed and functional, our hope is to have early experiential experiences for the students in that center where they come in and they work with clinicians to provide care. And then also it'll be an opportunity for faculty to work clinically and provide care for our community as well. So some of the highlights for our program, again, it's a 24-month program. Students will every year enroll in August. The first 12 months is the didactic phase of the curriculum over 3 semesters. And then the second 12 months is the clinical phase of the program, which is all clinical experiential learning or supervised clinical practice experiences. In our program, we'll have 8 skippies or clinical rotations as listed here. The elective can be in any subspecialty of surgery or internal medicine. And our goal is to, as much as we can, predominantly schedule our students within a 50-mile radius of campus. However, there may be some distant rotations for students as well. But we would look at that in regards to where our students were from and the proximity of those rotations. So we would work with you on that. We do have the students come back for callback weeks, which is 1 full week of instruction and assessment on campus with faculty after every 4-week rotation, which is something that we actually are very excited about that as well, because we believe that this will give us the opportunity to stay connected with our students and to really stay on top of the needs of our students once they are embarking in their clinical training during that second year. We don't have to go through these next few slides in depth, but I did list for you, and you can find this on our website as well, which, by the way, if you haven't tried these little QR codes, I don't know if you can scan them yet or not, but they will bring you to our website. One will bring you to our website, which outlines all of the admissions criteria for our program and give you details about our program there. And then the other one goes to my LinkedIn. So for most of the things that we're talking about this evening, you can go to the website for the PA program, and all of it will be listed there as well. One of the things I wanted to comment about the curriculum is that it's a little bit unique in the way that our curriculum will be delivered. In many PA programs, you will have in each of those semesters separate courses that are sometimes scheduled in a modular way. So for an example, you may have courses like medicine, pharmacology, physical diagnosis, diagnostics, and clinical skills, etc. And you will be studying the cardiovascular system in each of those courses in the fall semester. In our curriculum, we instead have taken all of the standards, all of our competencies, and grouped them instead into actual organ systems. It's an organ systems based curriculum. So instead of having those separate courses and trying to bring all that together, you will have a cardiovascular module, and all of the things that you would learn in medicine, diagnostics, clinical skills, pharmacology, etc., will be in that module. And then at the end of each of those modules, you will have an OSCE or a standardized patient care experience, where we will do a formative assessment and give you feedback after every module. So there's a lot of consistency, repetition in our curriculum. And I think we purposely put those OSCEs in there frequently and early in the curriculum so that we could identify any difficulties with students applying knowledge and actually with their critical thinking. So our belief is that this model of this curriculum will prepare our students best for entering into clinical phase of their training, and then also as clinicians. It'll better prepare them for entry-level competencies. There's a total of 100 credits in the PA program, just so you're aware. And there are several courses that do run throughout the clinical phase of the program, and some of those topics would be covered when you come back for those callback weeks. Okay, so I'm going to pause just for a moment. Does anybody have any questions about what I've talked about so far, or are we okay to go on to admissions criteria? Okay, and again, we'll have time at the end to discuss. So for our admissions criteria, all applicants will apply through CASPA, which is pretty common, right? That is the centralized application system. There is a link there that I provided to that. You must have a bachelor's degree from an accredited institution at the time of matriculation. Our minimum GPA is overall cumulative GPA of 2.8 and a minimum science and prerequisite GPA of 3.0. So that's minimum to apply to be reviewed by admissions committee. In regards to prerequisite courses, we don't accept less than C on any prerequisite course. You may have 2 outstanding prerequisites at the time of application, but they must be completed, and we must verify those grades prior to matriculation. All prerequisite courses must be completed within 10 years of CASPA submission, and pass-fail grades for prereqs will not be accepted at this time. And this is a summary of our prerequisite courses. For anatomy and physiology, it's either or. It's either a 3-credit course in anatomy with lab, and then 3-credit course or more for physiology with lab, or in some institutions, they'll do anatomy and physiology course that's combined. You would have to take 1 and 2. So you'd have to take a total of 6 credits or more for A&P. Usually it's more because lab is included. Gen Chem 2 courses and lab is required. General biology 2 courses, lab is required. Statistics, we do prefer a math or science prefix for the stats courses. I know sometimes there's different departments that will offer it, such as psychology, etc. But for the needs for our program, it should be math or a science-based prereq or prefix. Micro 1 course and lab is required. Psychology 1 course or 3 credits, and then either or organic chemistry or biochemistry with lab. When we look at admissions and applications to our program, we do have a rubric, and all of these things that I'm touching upon are in that rubric. So this is to give you an idea of what we are looking for, which we believe is a holistic look at the whole applicant. So we do look at your GPAs, we do look at all the academic performance, but all the other things that we're going to touch upon here are reviewed and considered when we're looking at all the applicants that have come into our program. So in regards to academic rigor, what we do is we look at how many STEM courses that you've taken in each semester, and the more, because that will demonstrate to us somebody who has taken 3 or 4 STEM courses and done well in 1 semester, really technically that's a heavier load and academic stressor than if you take 1 STEM class per semester, for example. So we do look at that. We do require that all of our applicants take the GRE, although there is no minimum GRE requirement. I wanted to point that out. We require direct patient care hours. We don't require as many as some of our peer schools. However, we're very specific about the type of direct patient care hours that we require. And I have an example on the next slide of some of the more common direct patient care hours that we'll consider. But this link actually will bring you on our website. We have a longer comprehensive list of what we will consider to qualify as direct patient care. Now, there are some other things if they don't qualify for direct patient care. For example, medical scribe, we don't consider to be direct patient care. Pharmacy tech, where people are not really truly providing direct care, those still will count for general healthcare experiences, however. So just to be clear, we do look at it, it's really two buckets that we have those hours put in. But the website and the list should clarify this a bit. So this is a non-exhaustive example of direct patient care hours and things that would count. And many times applicants or students at Alvernia will ask me how they can go about finding or obtaining these hours. And what I would tell you is that it is difficult to get consistent time and hours in building up those hours if it's not paid. So I think the best advice I can give people is to, if you're whatever you're interested in, if you're interested in working in the ER, maybe you are certified or you get a job as an ER tech, or maybe you get certified as a CNA and you work that way, or you get your certification to be any kind of tech, phlebotomy, EKG, etc. And that is most helpful for applicants when they are trying to build up those hours. And it was difficult pre-COVID to get shadowing and volunteer hours, but it's even more difficult now due to shortages and just changes within the infrastructure in many of the hospital systems and offices. Community service, evidence of community service and commitment to service isn't required to apply, but it is recommended, and we do review any type of community service that you've done. And so it'll strengthen your application if you have evidence of community service there. And that is in alignment with our programmatic mission and vision, and also the university's very heavily steeped in service. Leadership, same thing. Evidence is not required for application, but it does help. It does help to strengthen the application if you've had some evidence of leadership and leadership that's been consistent. We do not require an interview here at Alvernia. Instead, we use Casper, which is an online open response situational competency test. We will, however, have an optional accepted student stay on campus for our students prior to August of 2024. And part of the reason why we do that, or why we don't do interviews, is we really wanted to make sure that we were not providing barriers for applicants to apply to our program. And it's difficult, I think, and quite frankly expensive to do a lot of traveling for interviews and time off from work and school, etc. And so, however, we also recognize that individuals really do like to come see campus and see the facilities and meet the faculty. And so if that's something you're able to do, we will provide that opportunity for our students as well. We do require a custom essay. There's three currently. There's three. This may change next cycle, but currently we have 3 custom essays, very short, about 200 words or so to answer, and they are specific to our program, to our mission and values. And it is not a separate application, not a separate application fee. It's not outside of CASPA. It's right within CASPA and easily answered within there. We also require 3 letters of recommendation, 1 from a healthcare professional and 1 from a professor or instructor. All students who are coming in undergo a criminal background check, and we have technical standards. Again, and this link will bring you to our website where it is published, so you can review those in detail there. You must not only meet the minimal technical standards at the time of matriculation, but demonstrate that you can maintain those throughout the entirety of the program. We do accept international students. However, we will not enroll applicants who have graduated from foreign or domestic medical institutions alone. International applicants must have completed at least 1 year of study in a U.S. or English-speaking institution and fulfill our minimum requirements for the English proficiency exam if that's needed. And applicants who have completed coursework outside of the U.S., Canada, UK, etc., the English-speaking countries, must take the TOEFL English proficiency exam and achieve a minimum score of 100. We do have several special considerations for our applicants, Alvernia University alumni and current students, local applicants, meaning those applicants specifically from Berks County and the surrounding counties for Berks County that are listed there, all past and current military experiences, including veteran, active duty, and reserve status, and applicants who speak Spanish or any other language in addition to English, and this includes sign language. And I just wanted to show a few pictures. I'm dying to get more. We're in the process of getting some videos made and some pictures, but this is a picture of our John R. Post Center, which is in downtown Reading. It's even though it's about 10 minutes or so from main campus, we provide shuttles for our students to go back and forth between the main campus and Post Center. However, the PA program will be housed purely at Post Center. So there may be an occasion here and there when we would go back to main campus for activities, but for the most part, all of the PA program will be delivered here. Also, there is housing available, and they are expanding on the housing that's available for the students at Post. So some of our students at Alvernia now in our graduate programs actually reside on the 5th floor of Post Center. So and they're very nice. I actually stayed there when I took this job and I moved. I hadn't settled yet on my home, and so the university allowed me to stay in one of the suites, and they are very, very nice. So that's something that if you ever come and have a tour and see the building, you would be able to see those as well. So that's an option, and I think it's a very convenient option for our students who wish to actually stay on campus. This is just a picture of our brand new medical simulation center control room. So this is within that medical simulation lab on the 2nd floor. This is one of our nursing faculty who's running a simulation scenario with her nursing students. So this is where faculty will sit. We do have these windows where we can directly observe you in the room. We can give you instruction, and we can also program the equipment, including the adult mannequins and all of the monitors, in order to give you the scenario that we want you to work through. It's all customizable, is what I'm saying. So we're really excited about that. And then just a different view. So this is now the other side of the wall, the other side of the window, more of a close-up of, this monitor, is pretty authentic. And the mannequins that we have at our disposal are actually high fidelity and high quality as well. This is also on the 2nd floor, so mostly nursing area here, but there'll be some similarities on the 3rd floor when that's built out for PA. So I thought it was a good reflection of what's to come. And this is just a back, kind of a bigger, broader view of that clinical skills area on the 2nd floor where the nurses are. They actually have instruction within the room where they practice their skills as well. So the nice thing about Alvernia and the College of Health Sciences is we do have specific areas that are designated for each of our programs. However, we're very collaborative, and there's going to be a lot of crossover in how we're going to use those facilities, as well as opportunities for interprofessional events. So we're already apparently I was told yesterday that the nursing students are super excited that the PA students are coming and that we're going to be able to do some interprofessional experiences together. So we really have a lot of opportunities in that regard as well. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen. There we go. All right. So what questions do you have? Any questions about anything that I went over there on the slides?
Do you have a cadaver lab?
I'm sorry?
Do you have a cadaver lab?
That's a great question. So the question is, do we have a cadaver lab? We do not have our own cadaver lab. Anatomy will primarily be delivered with the anatomage tables, so virtual. And if you're not familiar with anatomage tables, they're technically a large computer, and they're loaded with images of real cadavers. Because we have the newer models of the anatomage tables, they actually will have the ability to stand, and we can project whatever models are on the tables onto the smart screens and TV screens as well in our lab. However, um, there's a possibility, we're looking into the possibility of supplementing that with pro dissected cadaver experiences at an outside facility. So that's all still in conversation, but if it works out, then you would have both. Right now, that's not definitive, but it is something we'd like to do. Does that answer your question? Okay. Are you looking forward to Cadaver Lab?
I am. I do think they're cool to have. Yeah.
Yeah, and so we really strongly believe in database decisions at Alvernia, and we really are spending a lot of time looking at this. So there's a difference between when you look at what we need the students to know, because we've required that you've had anatomy before you come into the program, right? So you've already had some anatomy. So when we're looking at what now, how do we tailor anatomy to fit the needs of our students and to assist them in making, achieving their learning outcomes? Is it necessary to have full cadaver dissection? Is it necessary to have dissected cadaver? Can you do it with anatomage? And there's a lot of very good data about anatomage and our ability to achieve our goals that way. And there is a shift in graduate medical education to use anatomage. However, again, I think there might be a nice sweet spot where we can balance out and supplement that as well. So hopefully that will work out for us, that we can offer that.
I just have a question about GPA calculations.
Mhm.
So, for example, if you had a C in organic chemistry or you got an A in biochemistry, are you going to calculate the GPA with the C and then calculate the GPA with the A in biochemistry and kind of weigh which one is better?
No, all of your courses are included.
Okay.
So say for example, it's a great question. Say for example, you got a C minus in a course and took it over. Both of those would be factored into the calculation in CASPA and what we're looking at.
Okay, so the CASPA GPA is specifically what's going to be looked at. Alvernia doesn't do their own calculations as well.
No, the CASPA will calculate for us. It's in when CASPA gives us the calculations, they do give us, it's broken out into many things. They do undergraduate, they do graduate, they do science, they do prereq. So they meet our needs that way. But to your point though, just to take a step back and look at when we're looking at the application, it is holistic, and we do look at things like if somebody didn't do well in one semester and maybe the trend after that is they do much better, right? Or they write about a challenge that occurred in that semester, but they've demonstrated that they have the capacity to do well after that. That's all taken into consideration, if that helps.
It does. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hi. I'm a little bit confused about how the Casper assessment completely works. Just like the whole process of like taking it, submitting it, or like how that works.
Yeah, so in Kelly, you might be able to chime in here, but essentially the way it's set up is that you're directed to, it's an outside website for Casper. Now, right now, Casper, I don't I don't know why they call it Casper because it's so similar to Caspa, but right now Casper does not integrate with CASPA, not yet. I think the plan is that they will. So what has to happen is we can't see the result directly. You take the exam according to the instructions at the Casper website. We direct you to that, and then we're able to go into our account and pull the results from there. And that's in it. Is that what you're getting at logistically, how that works?
Yeah, so if I would go in and I would take it, do I have to do anything? Like, do I have to send it to you guys in a certain way? Or can you guys just kind of go in, type in my name and see what I
Yeah.
got?
Do they, Kelly, does Casper, do we have a code with Casper? Is that how they know? Because I know we can go into our account and we can see all of the people who have taken Casper and had it
Yeah.
sent to us.
I believe you list schools that you're interested in, because we get a list of students that have taken the Casper exam or have registered for the exam. And based off of that, they've placed Alvernia to be able to see that score.
Mhm.
So you would list institutions that you're interested in applying for, that you want those scores to be available to. And then once that score set is available, the institution, when they log into their account, will be able to see that you've taken that, and then that will be added to your CASPA application. So all documents would need to be received prior to your application moving over to committee review.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a good point, is that because that's a requirement, Tiffany, Kelly does not assign us applications to review until all of those minimum requirements are met. And so for GRE, Casper, those things that are done on the outside, don't put those off because it will hold up the full review of your application by the admissions committee.
I would recommend, though, if you know you're interested in applying, you can submit your online application and start that process while you're registering for the GRE exam and the Casper exam. So as long as you've listed at the institution to have the scores forwarded to, we have a specific code for the GRE. And then again, if you've listed us in Casper, once those scores become available, they'll automatically be added to your online application. So you don't have to hold up and wait to submit your application.
Does that help?
Yeah, I actually have a following question that I kind of met, like, just because like I'm a little bit confused about that too. So for the GRE and getting it sent to you guys, where do I find your code? Or do I know I just put in the code when I take it into the site, or you guys just automatically see those, right?
We get notification, and they'll automatically, once those scores are being made available, they are routed to the CASPA on behalf of Alvernia University, and they'll be on your application. The code, when you're looking, will be listed under the CASPA. Each institution does have a very specific school code that's associated with the CASPA application. So you will be able to go ahead and add that particular code directly to your GRE. There's a general one for the university, and there's one specific for CASPA, sorry.
So I could realistically apply tomorrow if all I'm missing is my GRE and I'm taking that in December.
Yes.
Like,
Absolutely.
okay.
Yep. But just keep in mind, Alexia, that the wait time, the turnover would be a bit longer because we couldn't actually officially, truly formally go under review until we received the GRE.
And our school code, just in case, for anybody that is interested, I've put that in the chat. It's 0644, and that will route your scores directly to CASPA.
Thank you.
Do you guys have like a hospital or a hospital system that you guys are going to be working with for the second clinical year?
It's a really good question too. Yeah, we have several. So right now, in the very early stages, we do have several hospital systems that have agreed to partner with us. One of our biggest partnerships is with St. Luke's Hospital, Geisinger. Really great, strong relationship that we've forged with them, and I would anticipate that that's going to grow. We also have Lehigh Valley Network that has agreed to work with us. We have Lancaster General Penn, who's agreed to work with us. Tower Health has agreed to work with us, and also Penn State Health in general, but in Lancaster, that's the closest to us. There's a new hospital there in Lancaster. So those are just a few of the bigger systems that we'll work with and continue to develop those academic partnerships with. And we'll always be searching for more to make sure that we always have adequate amount of clinical training sites for our students.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. What else? You can ask us anything about the university, about the program, about us, if you want to.
Hi, I'm Shadi Fatih. I'm an active applicant to your program. Thank you so much for this informative session tonight. What are you most excited about as the program enters its first year, and what would you consider to be its most defining feature?
Oh, that's hard to answer because there's so many things. So if I had to pick, I'm going to give you several. Some of the things I'm most excited about, first and foremost, is my team. The faculty that are here so far have been, I've worked alongside of them to really create this from the ground up. They're very talented and they're extremely dedicated. They came with experience in PA education. All three of us did before we came to Alvernia. And I just think that that they're going to really make a big difference in regards to what happens next because of that talent that sits there. Number two is our culture. We also we very much value a culture in which there is mutual respect among all of our team, between me, the faculty, the administrative assistant, other people in the university, the students, and that's something that we really intend to purposefully protect as we grow bigger and more people come on and to the team as students get here. And it's something that we work very hard on. The facilities, I'm not exaggerating. I went to the ribbon cutting ceremony on the second floor, and well, before that, because I got a sneak peek. So before that, during my sneak peek, I cried because I couldn't believe that all the things that I looked at on a blueprint for years came to life, and it's huge and it's gorgeous and it's amazing. What they've done with our facilities, and I'm so excited for that. The curriculum, I think the curriculum is brilliant, and I think that it's really going to be student-centered, the program, in that way. We've not only created a curriculum that's strong, but we've created a remediation process that is very extensive so that we, as expected by ARC-PA, are able to identify any type of deficits that students have early, intervene early, and really provide them the support that they need to give them the best chance for success. So those are my top. Those are my top. Did I not answer? Was there a second part? Was there a part two?
No, I think that was the question I had. Thank you so much for your time. I'm very excited about your program.
Wonderful. Yeah, we are excited. We genuinely sometimes, when we meet, the faculty and I meet, and the first time I saw the scrub sink too, I was like, oh, the scrub sink. And the man who was giving me the tour was like, it's just a sink. I'm like, no, it's a scrub sink. It's my scrub sink. So we're really excited about how far we've come. There's a lot of work to do still, but we're prepared, and we can't wait for students to come in August. I think that'll really be the icing on the cake when we have our own students in seats. So.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Higgins. I know you guys were talking about if you have not taken the GRE or the Casper, but there would be a delay if you were to submit your application. What about if I was still taking one last class? Would that have a delay for you guys to review at my no? So I can submit.
No, it wouldn't, because the minimum criteria are that you have no more than 2, and you can have those 2 as long as we can see that the defining thing for us is that Kelly and we can see that it's listed on your transcript that you're taking it or it's in a plan for you to take it. So that's the most important thing. So if you're only missing 1 class, but it's in progress, then it would be considered to be able to be reviewed.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Mhm. What other questions do you have?
I was looking into the like faculty and curriculum of the program. Have you guys decided what faculty is teaching what, or are you going into it as a group, or is this something that's still being worked out?
Oh, that's a great question too. Definitely still being worked out. Definitely still being worked out. So we've created the skeleton, if you will, of what the curriculum is. Now we're getting into the granular. Okay, like to your point, who's teaching this? How many hours is going to go to this person, etc. So what I can tell you is that we believe that it's important to use when I say content expert, clinicians who really have experience in that area to teach as much as we can. So my experience clinically is in cardiovascular medicine. So the majority of what I'll teach will be related to cardiovascular medicine. We have another faculty member who has experience more so, for example, in urgent care. So maybe that person would do more of the urgent care. I have another who has a passion and a lot of experience with addiction medicine. And so we really will work around first who the principal faculty, what their content expertise is when assigning that. But we also will bring into the fold people from the outside, guest lecturers, if you will, who can also lecture in that area. And then the last thing I wanted to point out is that for things like basic sciences, pharmacology, anatomy, we also will have assistance we have a pharmacologist with many years experience clinically and with teaching and in multiple PA programs to help with pharmacology. And then we have different professors here at Alvernia who are able to help us with some of the basic sciences and our ethics and moral leadership. So I have a humanities professor who will co-teach that with me. So that's a great question.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Hi. For making the figuring out your science GPA, I was a little confused on, so I like a lot of my classes I took like the standard requirements, but I also took like a kinesiology physics, like a kinesiology anatomy on top of the other normal A&P. Do I include those into my science GPA because there's still science classes, just different name?
Correct.
Okay.
I do. So CASPA, and I'm sure, I think Kelly, did you want to say something? I'll let you go first.
So typically the science courses are the bios, the A&Ps, the chems, the physics. Kinesiology oftentimes will fall under other sciences, movement science. So sometimes they're broken into certain categories, but if you're looking specifically for a science GPA, a lot of times it's just the bios, the chems, the physics, the A&Ps.
In CASPA, when they're putting that into CASPA, Kelly, do they have direction on that Like CASPA assists with that in breaking out.
They do. And then there's a really good, when you're on CASPA, an FAQ, and it's also on GPA calculations. So you might want to check that out on their site as well. So that will help you understand how they get to those calculations.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Tiffany, may I ask, have you, it sounds like you're just getting ready to get into CASPA and work on your application.
Yeah, so I kind of like I'm jumping around different spots just because I needed one more class. So I was
Mhm.
focused on applying to I had to go back to college to get like microbiology.
Mhm.
So I'm kind of flipping back and forth. Currently still working on the CASPA, doing like like some of the baseline information.
Mhm.
And I've just been getting into the stuff where you have to like pull in like transcripts and upload things. And some of that was just a little bit confusing. So I'm still kind of figuring that out.
And if other questions come up, and the reason why I ask that is because I think two things. I think that once you get in and you start actually working in it, then that's helpful because you can see, you know, CASPA does give some guidance. But if there's still questions that anybody has, you can email Kelly. And the two of us can look at whatever the question is, you know. So don't ever hesitate if you're not quite sure about something in your application to reach out.
Thank you so much.
So, I just have a question because my university didn't offer like AMP1 and AMP2. They just offered anatomy and then a separate physiology
Mhm.
course. So, would you like us to specify somewhere on the application if that in my specific case?
I'm not sure I quite understand the question.
It actually will get picked up in your, when you're tagging your prerequisites, because if the institution does have a human anatomy and a physiology with lab course, that would count to meet the prerequisites. Some schools break it out as, you know, two separate, where some schools put AMP 1 and 2 with lab together. So on your prerequisites, you would just put the human anatomy with lab for, and then the human physiology for your AMP 1 and 2 requirement.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, and that would meet it as long as they were a total of was 3 credits for the anatomy, human anatomy, 3 credits human phys, and then lab, as long as there's a lab attached to that. So that would meet that criteria of either or anatomy, physiology separate, or AMP 1 and 2.
The one
Okay,
thing
thank
just
you.
to note, and I was like, I think this might be some of the last group of students coming through from the COVID eras. But all of the courses would need to be in person, as we don't accept any online, and they would have had to receive a grade. I know back in 2020, some might have just gotten maybe like a satisfactory and S, but didn't have a grade associated with it. The course, in order to meet the prerequisite, would need to have a grade and would need to have been in person.
Mhm.
Hi.
So-
Yeah, you can go ahead.
I apologize. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're
So
okay.
like my anatomy was fall of 2021, and you had the option to go in person or to work online. So I don't know how that would be listed, but is that still accepted?
Was your lab in person?
No.
It would not meet the prerequisite requirement.
Mhm. How is it listed on your transcript, Alexia? Oh, you don't have to look for me. I was just curious. That's an interesting, I never thought about that before. I wasn't thinking that there were options.
They
either way.
gave the professors the options up to their discretion if they would like to teach through or to not have their class come. So for example, like we did have a cadaver lab, so your exam would be like video based. So you would actually like go through it with a TA and they
Mhm.
would take you to each point in the cadaver.
Mhm.
So, and it's listed as like a mixed mode hybrid
Oh,
on the transcript.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and the reason for that is, especially for something like anatomy, it's really for the applicant's benefit, because you really need those things you need to have in person. You know, those types of labs and things we think you need to have in person in order to be properly prepared to come in for our curriculum. So you don't want to come in at a disadvantage, or not as prepared, you know, and set up for success. So it would be, so that's the rationale behind that. It's not to be punitive for anybody. It's so that we make sure students are coming in on an equal playing field as best we can, so they're prepared.
Of course, thank you.
Mhm.
Hi, so I was gonna ask, just touching more on like the prerequisites, like grade requirement. If you were to retake a class to meet that requirement, would you still be considered as like an applicant?
So you're saying, if I understand, Matthew, you're saying if, say you got a C- in anatomy, but you took it over and got an A, would we
Yeah.
still consider you? Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And then you mentioned earlier it both grades still get factored into that science GPA though, right? Okay.
Yeah, and speaking of grades, just to touch upon this again, we also recognize, I mean, first of all, the past couple of years have been really very challenging for most people. I think we'll all agree on that. However, even despite, you know, all the crazy things that have been happening, you know, across the continent, you know, in the past couple of years, that for everybody, certain things, sometimes things happen. I had an applicant once who um, had one course that was an outlier, you know, that she did really poorly in, and she was in the hospital and she had pneumonia and she had to take the final and she didn't have an, sometimes things happen. And I think if there is a reason for a challenge or a time when you didn't perform as well academically, always address it. Always address it in your essay, or really is the best place, because it really allows the admissions committee to understand better the whole picture, you know, of, you know, maybe something was happening at that point in time. And it's especially helpful, to your point, Matthew, if what is important is that even if it wasn't a C-, say it was a C, but you took it over and got a higher grade, you know, what that demonstrates to the admissions committee is that you really do have the ability to master the content in that course. And so that's helpful too, you know, and those are all the things we look at is, okay, well, they didn't do well maybe this in freshman year of college, but they've done really well since then. You know, they've taken this course over. And so we look at all of that and try to get the big picture in mind.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Hi. If if you receive an acceptance and the program doesn't receive the probation accreditation, will you be able to defer it?
It's a really, really good question. That has not even at all been explored at all in discussions, not only in the program, but with administration. So this is how I'll answer that. I do not have an answer for that right now. However, we really did do well during our site visit, and we had a very strong application of record. I really don't think it's going to be, there's not a very high likelihood that we won't get accredited if that works. Now, I won't know until April and you won't know until April. What I can tell you for sure is that if you've accepted and you've deposited, that you would get your full deposit back. That for sure. You would not have any financial ramifications if we don't get accreditation. And the other thing I'll tell you is that we're required by our accrediting body to update the accreditation status. If you go to our website, there is a disclaimer on there about accreditation. We would update that right away as soon as we know.
How much is the deposit and how long do you have to make a decision?
So the deposit, Kelly, we're at 1,000, correct?
It's $1,000, and from the time a student receives their notification, they have 2 weeks to accept their offer of admission. That $1,000 deposit will be applied to your first tuition bill.
Thank you. And one more question, sorry.
Sure.
This is kind of specific. So I did an exchange program abroad, and like I received credit, from my university for it, but all exchange programs are pass fail. And so for psychology, I took that abroad, and I got a passing grade. Would I have to retake it? Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah. And again, so keep in mind that what we need is to calculate that GPA. We need that psych grade in the calculation of the GPA. In order to be fair to all of our applicants, we have to keep it uniform. And so that's why we have to do that. The other thing also is I'm just curious, I would look at the prefix for the course that you had overseas. Was it a stats, or no, it was psych, was it? I don't know. Unfortunately you definitely have to take it over, but I was just curious about, where was it?
It was in Hong Kong, University of Hong
Yeah.
Kong.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's the reason why, is we really do need a grade, and we need to be able to factor that into the GPA calculations. And really it gives us a more accurate idea of your ability to master the content in those courses.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Is there like a rough estimate on like a timetable from when you submit your application to when you'll get a decision one way or the other?
Meaning for the applicant. So if you were to put in your application, when?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So, it depends on a few things, and I'm sure Kelly can speak to this more better because she's actually does this every day. But we tell applicants minimum 8 weeks, because in some of what the variable is when you've had your Casper assessment, when that's available to us, and your GRE. So those have to come in as well before your entire application is really verified, reviewed, and sent to the admissions committee. So do you have anything to add to that, Kelly?
No, it just really kind of varies with what's happening, I guess, within the semester, timeframes, when we receive documents, and when the application gets submitted over to the committee review. So there's several different factors that might change, but yeah, definitely probably around at minimum in 8 weeks.
Yeah, and our admissions committee meets every week. So it's rolling, our admissions process, and we do keep up on whatever Kelly sends us to review. We do review those regularly in grant decisions.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hi. So just to be clear, so all the classes that we would have taken during 2020 in shutdown, lockdown, we would have to retake.
If they're pass fail.
Oh, okay. So
but if pass fail. Mm-hmm.
But if so, I had organic chemistry and physics online, and they had lab, but it was forced online because of COVID. And there was no option, and I would get a letter grade. I wouldn't have to take that again.
Yeah, the online labs especially are really, that's really challenging. Applicants really need to have their science labs in person, is our opinion, and is how we run our admissions.
So I'd have to so if I had my lab online, that would be letter grade. Due to COVID being online, I'd have to apply for just taking the lab portion again.
I think it depends on the institution. So if it's separate and you can take it separately, then that might be an option.
Okay. If it's not an option, if they're some of my classes were combined in lab and lecture, and so would I have to just like find our university that would do it separately, or?
I think that would be a personal decision, if you wanted to either seek out where you could take the lab in person that offered it separately, or if you wanted to just take the course over, if they were together. But I would imagine there might be some implications for tuition for that, since there'd be more credit
Yeah.
involved in the whole course.
You might
So-
also need to check with the registrar, because if you receive a certain grade, I don't necessarily know you would be allowed a repeat of the same course. So you might want
Yeah.
to check with your institution's registrar.
Yeah, that's a
Okay.
great point, Kelly.
I also have like a lot of classes that were like, I was like labs that I was taking that were in person at first that became online because it was right during the switch. Would that still count, or would I have to also retake those since they were like the last portion was online?
You're talking about in spring of 2020?
That's where a lot of these classes I had Orgo, my anatomy lab. I had a lot of my like labs were all like that. Like I know my physics then in fall 2020, all of our classes were like strictly online. There's no option.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are combined, like my physics, and then on like my biochemistry was online. So I don't really.
Is it listed? But it was only a few weeks, right? That you had to do that, if I remember correctly.
Mine, I basically my spring semester, it was only a few weeks for when like the code first got here, and that's when like it was initially would start in person, and then my fall of 2020 was all pretty much online.
Mhm. Yeah, so I think we'd have to look at the transcripts for the spring and how it's listed, to be honest with you, on the transcripts.
Would it say like hybrid, or like what should I look for in that?
You know what, you could actually email those to Kelly. Kelly, if she emails those to you, we can look at them together. It might be easier for us to just take time offline to do that.
Okay.
And we can answer you directly, Tiffany. Yeah.
Yeah, that works. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So my question is, and I appreciate you guys doing this information session, is, let's say I have an outstanding course, and I have just one, and I can't take it until like the summer, and how would it be allowed for me to take it like in the summer, even though you guys are starting in the fall? Like what's the gap I can take between taking the class to when the semester would start?
And this is a course that's required. Yeah, so that we unfortunately that wouldn't work because our CASPA cycle ends at the end of March. And so really everything that we need to review would have to be submitted prior to the end of the CASPA before closing. So you'd have to take it in the spring in order for us to consider it if it was a prereq.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so I know, and out of respect, I can't believe it's already after 6:30. So I have a question for everybody here. And you can just physically raise your hand or do the little emoji. But if we were to have an in-person event at College Town for interested applicants, so you could see the facilities and maybe participate in an activity there, would you be interested in attending? Oh, there's a lot. Excellent. Okay. Oh, that's great to hear. That's really great to hear. So I'm working on that. My goal, what I would like to do is just that. I would like to have either a weekend or an evening event at College Town in Post Center, and something that's interactive. That's the goal. We're gonna have an event this weekend for undergraduates, and I think it'll give us a better idea of what we're able to do with that. So, and Kelly has the way that you were communicated with for this event tonight, we can send out information if that's something that we're able to do. And I would love for everybody in the call to come to that if you can. I know some people are in Washington and may not be able to come to that, and that's completely fine. And maybe we can, maybe we can do another online, event for people who are further away. But we're just trying to think of ways to introduce the facilities and the program and the faculty to our potential students, so that I think it helps a lot to actually experience something, similar to what you would be doing in the program. And it's fun. So we will definitely be back in touch in regards to that. Okay. All right. Kelly, did we miss anything? Did we miss stuff in the chat? Hold on.
I think we got everybody's questions answered. If you do have any follow-up, I'm going to go ahead and put my email. Feel free to reach out to me directly. I will definitely get back to you. I try to return emails within a 24-hour turnaround time. If I don't know the answer, I will definitely connect with the individual that would be able to assist with that and connect back with you. So it may take a little bit longer, depending on the question.
Yeah, and if there was something that we talked about tonight and maybe it's still not quite clear, or you just have follow-up questions, please feel free to email Kelly, and we definitely will get back to you on that. We get emails all the time, right, Kelly? Emails and phone calls all the time. So excellent. Well, thank you so much for coming and being with us tonight. I know it's probably a tough time, towards the end of the semester to do that, but we really appreciate you being here. So good luck with everything, and hopefully we will hear from you. All right. Take care, everybody.